Welcome to Layers of Communication with your host, Lydia Taggart. Life presents experiences that add a layer to who we are and how we see the world, affecting how we communicate. Lydia is here to help you take apart the layers and create new ways to connect and build relationships. So now, please welcome the host of Layers of Communication, Lydia Taggart.
Hello, all my friends, and welcome to Layers of Communication. I'm so glad you're here today. I have been out of town and I met some amazing people, and I met up again with one of my dear friends, and she had some questions. And so I thought, what better to do to help her and her family than to start implementing some of these things that she was asking me about in my show, because it's not necessarily her children and her family, but it's people that she loves and cares for that need some help. So she asked me what she can do. And so I thought, you know what? We all need some of this help, right? So layers of communication. The idea is that all of our experiences are layered onto who we are. It's not your identity. You're not just a parent. You're not just anything. You're who you are with all these experiences adding value to you. They're adding to you, and it's valuable. It's not supposed to be a negative thing. We grow from our experiences, and how we see the world is affected by the way we look through these layers and interact with the world. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about parenting and breaking out of those negative cycles that we have been grown up with, and we want to be better. How do we break out of it? All the time people say, I sound just like my mom. I sound just like my dad. I promised myself I would never do what they said or what they did, and here I am doing it, right? So what do we do about it? Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking at today. Now, first of all, here is a negative parenting situation, maybe, right? Maybe it could be considered negative. See if you can relate to this. You have a child, and they are supposed to give a book report or some sort of presentation. Maybe it's just asking to pass the salt and pepper at the dinner table. Whatever it is, whatever level it is, maybe they're up on stage or presenting in front of a group of people at church or something like that. It doesn't matter how big or small the audience is. The audience at the dinner table would be all the people around the table. Okay, so they have this opportunity to get up and say something or use their voice, and they freak out and they just freeze and they can't do it. It's too scary, it's too overwhelming, and they just don't. Okay, and if it were a book report, they get an F. They're embarrassed in front of the class, and it just snowballs. They come home unhappy. And you've had those days when you've had a bad experience at work and it just eats at you and you come home grumpy, right? So this is a kid, your child, having a bad day, and they come home grumpy, and it's difficult to reach them. Have you had an experience like that? Okay, so this was my son, my oldest son, 3 weeks ago. No, it was probably, 3 weeks ago. Okay, 3 weeks ago. He is preparing to go on his mission. And so the church invited him to speak in front of the congregation as part of his preparations. Teach us, prepare, and help, right? Help him be prepared to go out and meet new people and all that good stuff, being a missionary. He's also autistic. He's high functioning and has Asperger's. Everybody knows this. Everybody in our congregation knows this. So he is invited and told a couple of weeks before, so he had time to prepare, but they changed the date on him. And it ended up being a day that we were going to be out of town. Parents were out of town. And so he got up there. He forgot his notes. He was so unprepared, so flustered. He just, not happening. Didn't happen. So there's our moment, right? Now, as a parent, we could do so many different things in this situation. We could be embarrassed. We could call them out and yell at them. We could just like, if your kid's given a book report, why didn't you do it? Just do it. Or on the other hand, you could have teachers say, well, it's hard. I'm not going to make them stand up in front of the class. I'm not going to even ask them to do that because it's hard. And we put them in this box of, you're not good enough. You can't. And that's not what we want our kids to believe. No matter what their abilities are, no matter what their past experiences are, we want them, and we want ourselves, right? We want everyone to just keep trying and not give up. So when we have one of these moments, it's kind of like you're in survival mode, right? And that's when all of the emotions get fired up, and so many emotions: embarrassment, fear, anger, resentment, all these negative things can be just bleh, all over. And so what we want to do, first of all, very first thing to do, is step back and take a break. You know, one of the most common things that I have heard parents say and experienced with so many people: what do you say when your kid has an episode? They're emotionally grumpy. They're having a situation, discipline, or whatever you want to call it. They need to stop and change what they're doing, right? So parents say, go to your room and think about what you've done. Just get out of here. Go to your room and don't let me see you until you're going to be happy and nice and friendly. Go to your room and think about it. Well, what happens when we go to our room and think about it? We just think, oh man, I messed up. All these negative things. We dwell on the problem and the mistake. And that becomes a layer of experience that is often misidentified as our identity, who we are. I just mess up. I don't ever do anything right. You know, all these ugly, ugly things get just stuck there, and we're sitting in our room. Think about it. Think about it. Just think about what you've done. Well, there's not much good in that. Not much good comes from that, really, unless they've been trained already, or you expand that phrase, think about it, and what you can do to make it better. We can add those few little words on the end. Think about it, and think about what you can do to make it better. Let's think about all the good things. You know, you're better than that. We know that you're better than that because of all these other experiences that you've had in the past. Or, you know, there's so many good things that we can put in there. Take yourself out and think about what has happened, what you can do to make it better, and why you're better than this, why you don't need to repeat this behavior, okay? So that's the first thing. And the first step of getting out of survival mode is to step back and not be stuck in the emotions. Now remember, emotions are meant to be in motion. Feelings are meant to be felt. Don't ever forget that feelings are okay. They're there for a reason, and we need to be able to feel them. So there's another thing that you could say if you're sending your child to their room. Feel your feelings. Go experience this. Go cry in your room. We don't all need to be there with you crying. If you're having an emotional outburst, or you're too angry, go to your room and punch the pillow instead of your brother. Go experience your emotions in a safe way, in a safe place, okay? And most importantly, allow yourself as the parent to take a time out if you need it. We need to lead by example. Okay, so here's a little bit more what happened next with my son, okay? Oh, he's such a sweetheart. He is such a sweetheart. we got home, and of course, there's very little communication when we're out of town about what actually happened. So we get home and we talk with our bishop and find out he wouldn't talk to anybody. He had gone into total shutdown mode, and that's fine. He's feeling his emotions. But then we decided we wanted him to have another chance to try again, not saying, oh, he can't. Instead saying, let's give him another chance. Let's try again. And oh, that's so valuable. Okay, so he had 2 weeks ago, he had his second chance. And he got up there. He was prepared. We had another talk. Well, I'll talk more about the talk in a minute. But he got up there. He felt prepared. He felt confident. He was really exciting to watch because of his Asperger's. He's doing all of his his body language is just awesome. And so much so that, of course, every time a child speaks in a public setting, there's going to be people who come up to you and say, wow, that was really great, or I appreciate that, or something like that. Now, I don't hang out and visit after. I have a class that I teach, and so I leave the congregation and go to class pretty much right away. I had people stopping me in the hall and actually coming into my classroom to find me to tell me how happy they were for my son's presentation. And not just that, my friend Brenda, sweet Brenda, she listed his presentation, the words, his message, his inflections, his body language, his sense of humor. She just loved every bit of it, and she listed all these different parts and why she loved all of them. And she said, make sure he knows that he's just awesome, and I really appreciate him. I probably won't get to see him. Please make sure he knows this. I thought, okay, that's great. Wow, right? I'd love that kind of feedback when I give my presentations. That's awesome. And so then after class, I had another friend come in my classroom to make sure that I knew. She sits on the back row, and she says, I just wanted you to know what the back row people were thinking. And she said similar things, but the thing that caught me most that was repeated with so many of our friends was, I'm so proud of him. When we saw him get up, I was sitting with my daughter, she says. I was sitting with my daughter, and we saw him get up, and we just said, oh, I hope he can make it through it this time. And they're cheering for him, and they're rooting for him. And he doesn't know it. He's not aware of what my friends are thinking for my son, but because we're just family with all of our friends, but everybody is supporting and loving each other in a way that it's okay if you make a mistake. Everyone will root for you to try again. Now, we've lived here pretty much his entire life. We moved here, I think he was about 1.5 years old when we got here in this house. So he doesn't know any other people, and they've known him his whole life pretty much. So they're just so happy and excited for him to be making progress and presenting such a great way. I had one friend come and tell me she didn't even hear the words that he said. It didn't even matter because she felt what he was trying to say. She felt the Spirit moving her, and what a great missionary he's going to be. And she's so excited for him. Now, this Sunday, I had more people come up and tell me they didn't get a chance to tell me last week, and they wanted to make sure that they knew, or that he knew, that they appreciated him. And one person came up and he says, I've seen him speak a few times. And he was a visitor to our congregation. He doesn't normally come, but he comes often. And so he says, I've been here a few times when your son has spoken. And I'm so proud of him for improving, and he's so great. And was awesome. And that's the next thing. Surround yourself with supportive people, and love. And it's important to surround yourself with your own forgiveness and your own, this is just where we are. This is where we want to go. How do we get there? Those experiences that we build on and from the past, they don't have to be our identity. So when we become a parent and we have that layer added on to who we are, we associate it, our brain associates it with past experiences. Okay, I'm a parent. What do I know about being a parent? My parents did this and this and this. That's what comes out, even subconsciously, because everything in our brain gets associated with something else. So it can try to make sense of what's going on. So it's not a problem. It's something to learn from and improve on. All that other stuff that we've been through can help us, even if it's negative. Okay. So we want to take these experiences, and you can even like imagine them being in front of you. Okay, here's my experience. Here's my layer. I'm going to gather it up and say, I'm looking at my experience. Here it is in front of me. And is it good? There's some good stuff in there. I'm sure there is. There's always something good in there. And what's not good? I'll change this. I'd rather not do that. But this part's good. Or make up something totally of your own. If you don't want to do any of it, then hey, that's a great learning experience of what not to do. Okay? And then you can intentionally set the stage for your next layer and what to do with your next layer. Okay? So forgive your past and learn from it. Forgive yourself for holding on to it. Forgive the people that may have hurt you. So in this example with my son, being able to grow and progress was not going to be helped at all if I said, go to your room and think about it. Why did you get up there and just not give your speech? Why did you, whatever, why doesn't matter. What matters at this point is, okay, this happened. What are we going to do about it? What can we do next? Right? And then when we get to the other side and we've accomplished it, now that he's given a successful presentation, he can say, look back and go, okay, this is what's different. You can contrast and compare and say, this was a better way of doing it. Don't repeat that one. Do repeat this one. Okay? Have patience. It takes time. Be patient with yourself and just surround yourself with as much love as you can. Remember, feelings are meant to be felt. Okay, I'm looking at my notes here. So we want to get out of survival mode. And the first step of getting out of survival mode is to get past those emotional and feeling those feelings. You have to allow time to experience the feelings, experience the emotions. Now, science has showed, and they've done lots of studies on this, when we are crying, most people only really cry for about 7 minutes or less. So I like to tell myself, cry your heart out. Just cry. Feel those feelings. And I think we get afraid of feeling intense emotions because we think we're going to get stuck in them. It's just an experience that we can go through. When we worry about it and we stop ourselves, it's like we're going through and we stop, and that's when we get stuck in it because we don't allow us or them to continue all the way through that experience. If we are afraid of experiencing it, then we're going to be stuck in it. Okay. Now we can add a layer intentionally. Let's talk about what we do with that. We want to be the example and give ourselves a timeout if we need it. If we're sending our kids to their room to think about it, maybe we should go to our room and think about it too. And not just stew about all the negative stuff, but like I said earlier, what can I do to be better next time? What can I do to fix if there's a problem? What can I do to repair any damage that I've done? And remembering that you have value. They have value. We're here on purpose for a purpose. And there's no thing at all that you can do to take that away. You're here. You're part of this life. And that's amazing. And that's wonderful. You add to this world. I'm so glad that you're here. Okay. So you can have a conversation with your child when there's not an emotional interference, we'll call it, okay? So if I were talking with my son, he's had this emotional experience about trying to present and not doing it. He's thinking he's a failure and all those other bleh, yucky things, okay? So when it's not emotionally charged, when I can be calm and talk with him, then I go and say, hey, I want to talk with you. You know, I know this happened. What are we going to do about it? Remember, you're awesome. I know you can do it. You want to try again? Let's try again. And build them up and say, I know you've got a lot to say. I know you can put these words in, maybe it just takes practice. And remember, everybody there loves you anyway. And even if you don't feel like they love you, know that you're here on purpose and for a purpose. And this is one of your experiences that you get to try again. If they're having an emotional outburst, if they're playing with some friends, okay, and the play gets a little bit overdone, and you can see those signs, you're like, uh-oh, I better remove him before he punches his friend in the nose, or something bad's going to happen, right? So you can take them out of that situation. Give them some time to think about it, but not just think about what the negative stuff is, but think about how they can repair it, how they can avoid it in the future, all those things. Not just, you're bad, go deal with yourself. That's what we want to change up. Okay, so the first step in the frame formula that I teach with my clients and their coaching is freedom to speak. F in the frame formula stands for freedom to speak. We want the kids to feel like they are able to speak with us, to share their thoughts and their feelings, to share their experiences. And if they have a problem, maybe they would come to us and say, hey, I have a problem, Mom, Dad, I need some help. We need this open communication with them, and they need to feel like they're free to speak. So always ask them how they're feeling. But if you haven't got this open communication set up yet, then this is how you do it, okay? Here's how you do it. Remove the emotional, wait for the emotions to pass, experience it, go through it, okay? And then you want to approach them and say, I'm sorry. That's right. The first thing you need to do, and it doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what it is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this happened. I'm sorry that you're hurt. I'm sorry you're scared. I'm sorry you don't understand. I'm sorry, whatever it is, but it needs to be followed up with, I wasn't there for you, or I didn't help you enough, or I made a mistake somehow. I'm sorry about the situation, and I wasn't there for you when you needed me. Okay, so this is how I started my conversation with my son after he had his experience not giving his speech. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. I'm sorry I didn't help you prepare better. How can we fix it? Let's do it again. Let's try harder. I'm here for you now. I didn't know I needed to be there for you. I'm here for you now. Okay? Can you imagine the barriers that just come crashing down when you step up and apologize? They're not expecting it. It's genuine. You care about them, you love them, and you want them to know that you care about them and love them. So start with an apology. And it doesn't have to be for anything specific, like I blah, blah, blah. It can be general, like I wasn't there for you. If it's heartfelt, guess where they feel it? They feel it in their heart. When it's heartfelt, they feel it in their heart. Okay? So then you explain what happens, right? So in this example with my son, you got up there, I understand there was a problem, it didn't work out, you probably felt embarrassed and scared and whatever it was that you felt. And then you ask them to tell you if you got it right. Am I understanding this right? Did I miss anything? Is there anything else that I need to know about this? How can I help you better? Okay. That's giving them a foundation of trust. And when there's a foundation of trust, then they're free to speak. And it might take more than one time. Don't give up. Be patient with yourself, right? And if they interrupt and want to change the subject, because sometimes they will get emotionally charged even if you're not. Keep your cool. Okay, you keep your cool as the parent, as the loving caregiver that you are. Say, okay, well, I can see that you're still upset, so I'll come back in 5 minutes. Something like that. And then actually come back in 5 minutes. If you say you're coming back, really do it. Okay, build that trust. Let them know that it really is safe for them to speak and share their heart. Okay. Let's see what else. And I want to make sure I don't forget anything on this. It's okay to have a do-over. And these meetings that you have with your kids, trying to build this foundation for a freedom to speak, it is okay to have a do-over for those too. Everything can be a redo. Everything, every day. It doesn't even matter how old you are or how many times you've tried and practiced before. Practice again. And life is a game. Remember to make it kind of fun and don't get mad at yourself. It's okay. It's okay. If you lived through it, guess what? You lived through that. Cheer yourself on. You've done it. You have done so much to get to where you are. And it's okay to say, yeah, I'm in survival mode. This is hard. This is hard. Because sometimes it can be really hard. I have 6 kids. They're all teenagers right now. I have quadruplets that are 13 years old. I have a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old. And it can be hard. Oh, it can be really hard. When people go, wow, because that's amazing. Just that sentence, I understand, wow, quadruplets is not an everyday thing with everybody. It is for me now, but you don't come across it all that often. And so people say, how did you do that? First thing is, I didn't do it alone. I had help. I still have help. It's okay to get help. And I'm here for you. If you can have, if I'm able to help you in any way, tune in and share these videos out with people that I can help, please. We have had, there's 6 kids. Statistically, there's 1 in 4 of something, and there's 1 in 6 of something else. Probably going to have a lot of stuff, just because I have a lot of kids. We've got dyslexia, ADHD, Asperger's, ODD. That one's real fun. That one's really fun. ADHD, just, it can be a challenge. Everyone has a challenge, and it's okay. because feelings are meant to be felt. This is where we are. Where do we want to be? How do we get there? What can we do to help each other? And build that foundation of trust. And have some faith in yourself. Try to have some faith in your kids. And forgive. Forgive. Okay? Remember, maybe you don't need to forget, but learn from these experiences, okay? And I think that's all I'm going to leave you with that today, because it's kind of heavy. It's kind of a lot to deal with. You can change your parenting. You don't have to be stuck in that identity of what parenting is from your past experience, from growing up and witnessing whatever else is around you. You can choose. You can choose and create your own way of parenting. And I hope that this has been helpful for you. It's been really awesome for me. Watching my son, and this is just one little experience, watching him fail and then learn from it, communicate, connect. And I don't know if you know this or not, but kids who have autism and Asperger's, they're not really known for good communication skills. So being able to know what he needs and help him, that's kind of miraculous right there. But it comes from this foundation of freedom to speak, and you'll open up and just forgiving and not judging, okay? And don't be afraid. Please be brave enough to take yourself to a timeout if you feel like you're getting overly emotional or emotionally stimulated too much. If you have that, it's okay to take yourself to a timeout too. Set the timer. Set the timer. 5, 7 minutes, 10 minutes is kind of my limit. If you're needing more than 10 minutes, then you're hiding instead of dealing with it. Okay. I will let you go. I hope this has been helpful. I'm Lydia Taggart with Layers of Communication. You can find me at lydiataggart.com or layersofcommunication.com. And this is just step 1 on the frame formula. I know it's going to help you so much. It creates miracles. It really does. The frame formula is amazing, and you can just watch all your worries fade away in the distance when you take a step into it. So I look forward to hearing from you, and I will talk to you more later. Love you. Bye. Remember, you're worth it, and so are they.
You've been listening to Layers of Communication with your host, Lydia Taggart. Tune in next week as we discover the layers in order to communicate and connect down to your core on Lydia Taggart's Layers of Communication.